It's May 1st, 2022. This year I'm going to try to do what I do and show you a week-to-week update. So this is planting day. I've been busy and I don't have a greenhouse. And let's just say it's easier to plant late after the last frost and the last of the cool nights. And it's May 1st here in Arkansas. I try to get the healthiest plants, well, I shouldn't say healthy, plants that have come a long way to kind of give me a booster to make up for planting late in the season. But here's our starting lineup. So this will be how we're orientated left to right. Pink Brandywine, a big boy, a better boy, a red beefsteak, Cherokee Purple, which unfortunately was the most juvenile of all, and for my son, his super sweet 100s, the little cherry tomatoes. Now what I'm doing a little different this year, I'm going with that preferred method that I've read about, where instead of, filling it up with soil and planting your plant, you get it as low to the bottom as possible, and then as it grows, you pluck the bottom and you fill in the soil, okay? So like that plant, for example, is much longer. It extends almost to the bottom. I gave it like a couple inches from that line right there. So that's going to be kind of new, and that's going to give a better root system. Because remember, when you're dealing with tomatoes, any part of the tomato that touches soil is basically going to sprout roots. So that should give us a stronger plant within the pot and a better root system. I did not break up the roots. I took them straight out of their planters and I just set them in there. That's something I alternate depending on the year. Sometimes I break them free, sometimes I don't. And at least in my experience, and let me just tell you, I grew up breaking them free. When I break them free, it stunts them. When I don't break them free, they seem to do okay. So, they're twirled up. There's enough roots. They're going to scavenge and find their way. Rather than break them and, have them get stunted. Let's see. The potting soil. Expert potting mix. That's what I still am a big fan of, and I've had some pretty good luck with it. Wally World Special, the price is right. I think the Miracle-Gro stuff is a little bit too compact. Just not good for pots, even though it says for potting soil. Okay, video fast forwards 11 days. I was making that first video, and then I got bombarded by the neighborhood kids wanting to know what I was doing. And it was semi-incomplete, but at any rate, it's the 11-day mark. So I started them on a Sunday. I didn't use any fertilizer because I gave all the containers fresh topsoil, potting soil, my bad. And I kind of figured that should have plenty of nutrients that hasn't drained out yet. And I just kind of wanted to give them a week to settle in. You see in the beginning of this video, this year what I did differently, I planted everything almost to the bottom of the pot, like within an inch and a half of the bottom of the pot. And as it's been growing, I've been adding soil. And again, this is at day 11, and 7 days ago is when I did the first dose of Miracle-Gro, which is what we're going to use until we start getting some major flowering. But you can kind of see, I clipped the base to be able to put the soil up to that line. Some of them were already higher because they were bigger plants. That was my smallest plant. Literally, when I planted it, it was about 3.5 inches high. And if you were 10 feet back, you couldn't even see there was something in the pot. But you could see it's coming along. Trimmed the bottoms. Almost got full soil in there. Same with that one, except for I think I may have gotten trimmings put together. But I will tell you, ever since I did add the Miracle-Gro, even my wife was like, wow, they sure grew in the last 3 or 4 days. And we did get a lot of rain. I planted them that Sunday, and then we had like 3 or 4 days of solid rain. But sticking with the old Expert Gardener pot mix. So I used the same stuff last year, but I had reused it from the year before. So this year we got nice fresh soil, plus because I add the calcium, I don't know how much of that drains out, so I just kind of wanted a fresh start on the soil. You know, 3 bags is all it took to get me started. 2 bags, my bad. And then I bought 2 more bags, and right now I just used another half a bag topping them off. So I got another half, because as these things grow, the soil's gonna fall. So every half inch or so I'll add some soil. But they're coming along. Sorry about the sun not being too good. I'm about ready to get the cages in there. And what I'm going to do this year, it's a little pricey. It was already like 25 bucks last year to buy those 2 fence posts to make that right there. So rather than use one of those on all the tomatoes, I got one for the other side, except for I need one of the longer ones. And I'm going to put those up on each side. And what I'm going to do is a 2x4 system, and I think, what do they call it? A Carolina rig? Carolina weave, Florida weave. I'll insert it in the right now. But I think we're going to try to do that and get a brace on the cages. So hopefully next year will be big containers. But honestly, that's going to take some of the fun out of this experiment, because once you get into real large containers, it's almost like you're not in containers anymore. I will be spacing these out. That's why I'm doing 6 instead of 8 this year. I just haven't got to it yet. Plus, I was doing some maintenance. I had to flush out the trans fluid on my D130. Got videos I'm going to be posting on that pretty quick. But got all nice and mowed. It's my beautiful little South Central Arkansas view from my back. And I got a bunch of trails way back there that I mow out to. The kids, my wife walking the dogs, they love it. Going with the same watering method. Yes, I know I said I wanted to get a containment system for rainwater. It hasn't happened yet, but it will happen. But here's the current setup. I actually had to buy a new one. I took this off at the end of the season, and I was using it to flush my water heater, and I missed my end. So I got the same $2.50 little cheap Lowe's adapter here, okay? Same little 3/4 inch PVC, threaded on one side, and then, you know, on the other side open. What I did a little different this year, and I didn't need to, I put a true adapter. Go ahead and splice it in now. But at any rate, with this valve off, it's not going to leak out of here. Even though the threads aren't that good, they're good enough. I was just wanting it perfect. OCD. But let me show you how I set that up. I always keep the water on, okay? But I keep it off where my thumb is. And what I do is on my manifold, I go ahead and I pre-adjust it on the manifold to the pressure that I want. So that when I go to fill, all I have to do, turn it on, and that's how I do it. I don't want to be soaking my leaves and splashing stuff up. And granted, I'm going to get them a little wet because I'm doing this one-handed. But then when I water, I'm keeping diseases lower on the plant. And I don't want to overwater, just like maybe that much. And I'll do that a few times a day, depending on how hot it is. Like we're 96 degrees today. We're getting that early crazy heat. But I mean, if you overwater, all those nutrients are going to come out of your pots, especially if you're like mine and you got those little holes down there. But that's kind of what I've been doing. Just not usually through a camera, so I'm probably doing it a little sloppy. Not a ton. I'd rather give them little bursts of water here and there throughout the day than to soak the crap out of them. And this is a little fluffier because I just added that topsoil. so it hasn't had any compaction time. I mean, yes, when I added it in there, I do compress it down a little bit, and then I put like a top centimeter that I leave kind of fluffy. If it's too compacted, you won't have the right drainage. If it's not compacted enough, it'll drain too quick, and your roots aren't going to have a very strong foundation. But that's it. As you can see, very low pressure. Go ahead and shut this off. And I want it so that whether my wife or my kids want to help out, it's not a lot of labor. And I just keep that ready to go, just like that.